Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and a huge Pokemon TCG tournament just happened a few days ago in Japan. It's the Champions League Fukuoka, which is a very large tournament. It is, I believe, the largest ever, depending on exactly how you measure it. But realistically, it's like the largest, like in-person, like one tournament ever. And yeah, this is really interesting as well. Take a look at the results here. Normally, I don't dive too much into tournament results because a lot of the times it's, to be honest, kind of boring. It's like, oh yeah, it's exactly what we expect. But no, this is not that. I wouldn't say there are some interesting things, some things that are expected. I think a lot of things that are expected here as well. But yeah, I'm super excited to be breaking this down for you today. We got some really, really interesting decks to go through. We're going to go through all of the top 16, which is all this reported here. I do want to mention, so these are the statistics sorted by points. The winning deck was Mega Absol Box. And yeah, we're going to be talking about the decks. Obviously, one placement doesn't mean everything, or even four placements doesn't mean like it only carries so much weight, but it is still a good look into the Japanese metagame. For I guess a bigger picture, the better place to look would be the City League tournaments, which what even is this card? Glairly? Okay, anyways, I'm getting distracted. I've like never seen this card played before, I don't think. But anyways, yeah, there are definitely some interesting decks here that like represent the metagame a bit more, and like Pokemon book and stuff like that. But looking at big tournaments is always fun, and there's some when there are some interesting decks, floating around. But yeah, we see Dragapult EX as the top deck here, and or the top deck in terms of having four placements. There are three decks with two, with the original Rockets Mewtwo and Mega Lucario. There's a Mega Absol box with one placement. Ogerpon Meganium with one. There's Crustle with one, Rocks Honchkrow with one, Tera box with one, and Ogerpon box with one. Ogerpon box and Tera box are kind of similar. I think Ogerpon Meganium is not that similar, but there's obviously some similarities there. And we'll take a look at Mega Absol box as well. But it will be going down deck by deck here. So not going down placement by placement, if that makes sense. But also, while we're here, make sure you subscribe. It really helps support me personally, as well as the channel. I'd really appreciate it if you did. And also make sure you like the video. Liking the video has like no downside for you, so make sure you do that. But anyways, let's hop right in here. Looking at the Dragapult decks, which are all somewhat different. I'm just going to pull them all up here first. I have taken a look some at these tournament results. As I said, I normally don't do tournament result videos. Big tournaments, obviously, the bigger it is, the more likely I am to make a video on it. So I was like, yeah, I should definitely look at this. And I was really surprised. There's some really interesting things to notice here. And the first one was looking at these four decks here. They're all Dragapult. They run some different things, and they are all running, I believe, two Meowth EX, yeah. And they are all running Unfair Stamp. And this is going to be a common theme across a lot of decks in this video. Yeah, TX is performing super well, a lot better than I was expecting, to be honest, or like a bit better. I mean, it's a good card, right? I don't think that's like a hot take. Maybe I was too low on it. I thought it was just like pretty good, but it's doing like really, really well here. And then Unfair Stamp. Unfair Stamp, I'm gonna talk about some here. To be honest, I feel like Dragapult can do a lot of the same things it does pre-rotation in the post-rotation form. We see this list running a 2-1-1 Dusknoir line, like pretty similar to current standard pre-rotation. Obviously, Japan's in post-rotation, I guess, if you didn't know that. Losing out on cards like Nest Ball, Iono, which is a big reason for Unfair Stamp, and I guess Squawkville EX kind of Meowth EX is a replacement for, but that's not something you'd see in Dragapult. But there's a bunch of other cards as well, like Gardevoir EX and Charizard EX have done a ton of post-rotation and rotation analysis videos. But yeah, we see that the lists are kind of different here. Kind of low to the ground. We see Monkey Dory actually in all of the lists, which is interesting. With Crispin in all the lists, most of them are running pretty heavy counts. This list is just running one copy and just one Monkey Dory. Which we'll be talking about here. But anyways, so this first list here, this one is running, obviously Dragapult EX. We see Chimpao as well. Chimpao is interesting. I'm not actually sure what the use case of Chimpao is specifically. I know there are some countery stadiums out there specifically looking at the Stadium Team Rocket's Watchtower, turning off your colorless abilities. It obviously has Meowth EX. I guess I should say what Meowth EX does. If you're not familiar, on Play from Hand, you search your deck for a supporter, reveal it into your hand, essentially, is what this card does, which is pretty good. Obviously, we'll see some different supporters in these decks for different use cases. And then also plays Mega Kangaskhan EX to draw you two cards in the active. And it also plays 2 copies of Latias EX, right, to allow you to retreat. This can be useful turn 1 to get into Badoo. We actually only see 1 Badoo in the deck, so it's being a bit more, I was going to say more aggressive. It doesn't even play like Rare Candy, which is interesting to note here. So I don't know if it's more aggressive. To be honest, I'm not exactly sure what you do turn 2. You could attack like Dracoloak or like Munkidori or something. I guess you could attack with Mega Kangaskhan EX. That doesn't seem very good, right? You could just kind of build your hand and I mean, you could Badoo, right? You can Badoo potentially, but like if you really want to Badoo all the time, I feel like you'd play 2 Badoos. Um, and then it also runs Clefairy EX, which is interesting, very good against Dragapult EX. Dragapult EX is still the best performing deck in the game, even though it wasn't like super absurdly dominant. I mean, still a quarter of the top 16, which is like pretty substantial there, right? And then you do have Crispin, right? You're relying on Crispin here. I guess Crispin obviously it's good with Dragapult EX. It is good with Mega Kangaskhan EX, so maybe that is what you're looking to attack with turn 2 pretty consistently. Um, we do see higher counts of Munkidori. Crispin is interesting here. Obviously, accelerating energy from the deck is good. And it's 2 different types, right? And you need the 2 different types. So having the Darkest Energy allows you to use Crispin more. Versus if you didn't have Darkest Energies or just had like, you know, mostly 2 types of energies, then Crispin's gonna work less. Um, I mean, I guess if you had like 5 and 5, I don't know how that compares to like 4, 3, and 3. I'm assuming 4, 3, and 3 would get you more energy, have Crispin on more of the time. But anyways, having the increased diversity of energy is useful for Crispin there. And nice for Mega Kangaskhan EX as well, where you don't care what the types of energies are there. That being said, it's like a good attacker. It's not absurd, but it is a good draw as well. I mean, I've talked a lot about Mega Kangaskhan EX, and it's definitely a nice card there. And you really need Crispin to use Munkidori as well. Obviously, Dragapult EX doesn't really have energy acceleration. You have like ace specs in the form of Sparkling Crystal and also new upper energy, obviously played in standard pre-rotation, and yeah, they're not here because of unfair stamp, which I will be diving into in just a second. But with Meowth EX, we see a wide variety of supporters. We see a smaller kind of draw supporters, which also seems kind of sketchy in my opinion. With 2 Lilith's Determination, 2 Brock Scouting, and then like Safe Money Skill Breaking Dawn is setup supporters. And they can be good, right? Obviously, they can get you good cards. And then you can search them out when you want, right? You can use Meowth EX consistently. Also, I didn't say this. You can use Shampoo to bump areas you're under depths. I was thinking this earlier. You could get specifically Meowth EX being, I think, the biggest liability off your bench. Maybe Mega Kangaskhan EX as well, which can be a liability at times, being a Pokemon that gives up 3 prizes, which is obviously bad there. And then, yeah, that can like do some fun things. Not sure if that's like an intended use case of that card, but definitely seems interesting there. And then, oh, it also plays Harlequin. Harlequin is it's a card, right? It's from White Flare here. It's like Judge. You play shuffles their hand to their deck, and then draws 3 or 5, depending on a coin flip. So either you draw 3 and your opponent draws 5, or your opponent draws 3 and you draw 5. I think I said that the right way around. If I said the same thing twice, you know what I mean. But yeah, Harlequin is interesting here, but it's like random. I don't know. It feels kind of bad. Obviously, there's also Judge. I don't know which one's better. I know which one I'd rather play, which is Judge, because it's more consistent. You're getting more. But yeah, Harlequin is. It's a similar power level. Definitely a little surprised to see it in the deck here, but not like completely shocked. It's certainly a fine card there. But yeah, that's like a relatively small amount of supporters to draw you cards. Other than Crispin, which are like get you cards. Crispin does get you cards, but like energies, right? Which is like good, I guess. But like, it's mostly acceleration and it gets you your energies, right? But like, it's not really a setup supporter in terms of getting your board set up with your Pokemon on it. And then yeah, we see Pokemon as well being very good, allowing you to get out your Creepies, Dracolokes, as well as some some other stuff, right? Ultra Ball can get you everything, but you don't want to discard all the time. And yeah, we don't see Butter Poffin though. That is interesting there. And then we see Unfair Stamp, which I've been talking about quite a bit. Unfair Stamp is a card that allows you to, if you're and your Pokemon were knocked out last turn, you shuffle your hand. Each player, I guess, shuffles their hand to their decks and then draws your. I can't speak. So you draw 5 and your opponent draws 2. It's like Harlequin, but better than the best case scenario of Harlequin, and it's not an item. It's very good. It's a very good disruptive. I almost said supporter. It's not a supporter. It's an item, but it's an A-spec item, which are generally the power level of supporters. And yeah, I mean, it's good disruption. It's not crushing, right? You have Resident EX to draw out of it. You have other things as well. So be able to get out of it some, yes, but it is useful. When it's the only disruption card really around, or like the best one, there is Harlequin. There are other supporters that are fine-ish, but they're there's no Iono. Iono is really good in standard, pre-rotation, and Unfair Stamp is kind of giving you some of that. Um, it's not used as a setup card really. I mean, it kind of can be. You can use it like pretty early when your opponent's just taking one prize. You don't need to be like super down. But yeah, it is definitely a really powerful card and a source of disruption that people, I don't know if I'd say aren't ready to deal with, but they're not, preparing their decks to be Ionoed 4 times in the game because that's not going to happen. So that one Unfair Stamp can really crush them. Unfair Stamp's been, very good ace spat, or like a good ace spec, I guess. When it was like revealed, I was like, yeah, this is a good card, and I think a lot of people were like, this is a good card, and a good card. And then looking at the other decks, or I guess I haven't talked about Makidori yet. I'll talk about it a little more in some of the other decks here. Um, this one, this one, I guess, is more normal. It's running a Duststorm line compared to like more normal compared to pre-rotation. We do see a new supporter, Rose's Encouragement. This is an interesting card from Now Zero or Perfect Order. And it says you can only use this if you're down on prizes, and you attach up to 2 basic energy cards to your discard pile to one of your stage 2 Pokemon. This is another energy acceleration supporter, kind of like Crispin. Um, the decks running. I just saw like Briar and like the Knocked Owl. And yeah, I mean it's not running. Wait, yeah, this deck's also running Air Zero Underdepth, so we got like a bunch of Wait, do either of these decks? No, okay. We see these two first decks are running Tera synergy cards, but the only Tera is Dragapult EX. They're not like Tera box Dragapult decks. Knocked Owl is some extra search there, which is definitely interesting to see that 1/1 Knocked Owl. I don't actually think I've seen a 1/1 Knocked Owl deck really in a deck much. Think of anything I've seen it, but like normally it's really good or like not usable at all. But this is a deck where it's like actually just okay, which is really interesting. But yeah, I mean you have the Dustor line, which is still good. I don't think there was um that much what is it, Psyduck, or I guess also Golduck. Psyduck is like good obviously against Dusknoir, but I mean, yeah, no, you can really like mess with your opponent's setup. And we see like the Chubadus and stuff. So this is pretty similar to a standard Dragapult list. With some differences, right? You don't see was it Neo Upper Energy, obviously. We see Unfair Stamp, which I talked a bunch about already. And then would you see, I don't know, the one thing I personally am a little skeptical of, I guess I will say something is Risky Ruins getting damage counters on board. You can use this with Monkey I do feel like Monkey is like kind of meh here. You have less acceleration. You're not running Luminous, right? So you're like cutting into your deck slots. You're not just cutting into one deck slot like in standard where you're like, okay, I'm gonna play the one Monkey Dory. It's like no, I'm gonna cut into my energy situation as well because you're not really getting anything else out of the darkest energies outside of I don't know, maybe enabling Crispin or like retreating or something. I mean, it's like not nothing, but it's not that much either, right? So it definitely seems a little sketchy to me there. But definitely something interesting there. We see 3 Rarekins as well, interesting with the 3 Dragapults as well. And obviously the Dusknoir. So going more into that route, I guess. And then you do have the Briar, which is interesting. Allowing you to, take an extra prize if your opponent has exactly 2 prize cards remaining, and you knock out their active, or wait, is it any of their Pokemon? No, yeah, it's their active. Okay. And so Briar is interesting here. Obviously, it is searchable with Meowth EX. That's like good about the good thing about it, and it is searchable off of Knockdown as well. But a card we haven't really seen in Dragapult, definitely interesting to see here. But yeah, definitely an interesting list in my opinion. Then we got this list. It runs Brock Scouting, Kimakas Petrol, and Blood Mercy Luna EX, which isn't in the other decks. So that's a little interesting, but not too much to say about this list. Not really going to say anything about it, other than it does run for Crispin, and 2 Monkey as well. With some Monkey I didn't really say this, but Monkey like I guess I don't know. I kind of assume people would know what Monkey is good for, but it's like good for. I mean, it does some extra damage and heals. It's good against Dragapult EX, and there's a lot of decks that aren't taking one shots and going for a spread knockout. So Monkey is quite good there. But yeah, I wanted to clarify that. But then this last list we see here, nothing too crazy either compared to the other lists are somewhat similar. Obviously, we got Unfair Step again. Got the heavier lines of Crispin with the no Dusknoir here. So definitely a little interesting, but nothing super crazy. We do see Marcus Watchtower as well. Oh, this one just runs one Meowth the X, but still running that in here. Obviously could turn it off as well with Marcus Watchtower. Then looking at the next deck here, we have where is it? we got. I've done this wrong. We got Raging Bolt. I guess I'll look at, and I guess while we're here, we'll actually look at the other Ogerpon decks as well. So in this list here, we've got. This is actually. I'll look at the Raging Bolt ones first, though. Actually, I'll also look at Mega Absol box. I'll just look at a bunch of lists here, because these all use Teal Ogerpon EX in a pretty prominent role. Tera box is actually the most straightforward of these. Not really too much to say here. A lot to see because it's Tera box with like a lot of different cards. Obviously, Knocked Owl being a centerpiece. I was talked about Knocked Owl earlier. Teal Ogerpon EX, of course, a very good card. And does is it lets you accelerate a basic grass from your hand to this Pokemon, and then you get to draw a card, which is nice. And then you can do damage based on the energy attached to both actives, 30 plus 30. I imagine most people know the attack. If you don't, that's what it does. It's kind of meh, or it's kind of like bad on its own, I guess, but it's not on its own all the time. And then you have obviously Water Ogerpon. You got Lily's Lucario EX, super nice here for Dragapult or against Dragapult. It's I guess bad for Dragapult. And you got Iron Leaves EX for Barneys and Ends and stuff. There's some like Grass Week decks, though they're not like truly the scariest ones around. You got Trap Ghost EX for solid damage, and you got Terror Box stuff. Some differences obviously, but like Sadia Pokemon like say Meowth EX feels really feeling natural into this deck. One thing I will say as well is Cyrano. Cyrano's a supporter that I haven't talked about. It hasn't seen play in the Dragapult list, which is not surprising. But Cyrano is a highly played card. Oh, I guess we do see Judge as well, which is good. But yeah, and we see Sparkling Crystal, which isn't Unfair Stamp. I mean, it is Terra Box, so like what are you expecting? But yeah, we do have Sparkling Crystal here. And then we have Cyrano. Cyrano's interesting. Search deck for up to 3 Pokemon EX duel and put into your hand, then shuffle your deck. This supporter is interesting. Generally, search supporters they're okay. I mean, we are losing out of the 4 good draw supporters. We're losing 4, no 3. We're losing 2 of them. We're losing Iona. We're also losing Research. So we are also losing Arvin as well, which is a very good supporter, which is a search supporter. But yeah, Cyrano is interesting. Getting EXs generally doesn't get you quite enough, but there are multiple nice supporting EXs. Obviously, Teal Ogerpon EX in a deck like this is a good supporting EX. This is, I guess, Latias EX. But those aren't drawing you cards. You do have like a main attacker as an EX kind of. You can generally look at it in that way, but that's only one Pokemon. But then you're looking for multiple support Pokemon. You have Pheasant EX, Kangaskhan EX, and Meowth EX. Meowth EX doesn't really get immediate value, but it is still a very good card. And grabbing that off of is I think a very big part of why it's being played here. In this deck, but also like more so in other decks, we will see a good amount of Seer now, and I will actually play against one of these decks on live. Well, okay, not one of these decks exactly, but like similarly, and I was interested in seeing them play Sierra now. And it didn't work out because they didn't have Meowth EX, which we'll talk about in just a second. But we have Ogerpon box. Ogerpon box is what? Passimian? Okay, I haven't like really seen people play this. Apparently it's played a lot. But that caught me off guard. Yeah, we got Ogerpon box. It's got the Grass Ogerpon and the Water Ogerpon, and it's got Liz Clefairy EX. It's got 4 Sierra now. I mean, it searches like all your Pokemon except for the Psyduck here. And then you're relying more on Crispin. You got Mist Energy, which is useful against like Dragapult. And there's one deck with a really interesting tech card, which we'll talk about later, related to Mist Energy. We do have Black Belts training. I was looking at this deck earlier. I'm actually not sure exactly the use case of Black Belts training, so in the comment section what the use case is. If there's like a specific one that I'm like missing, maybe it's for Kang with like different Pokemon like Fez or whatever. I don't know. That seems a little unlikely, but maybe that is what it is. And then, yeah, we see Cyphermax code breaking yet again. Obviously, it's good when you has coming X. Putting 2 cards on top of your deck when you can immediately draw those cards is good. So that's interesting there. I will say it feels more like a win more card, but I guess it is pretty good. You can't get like Gust immediately either. Well, I could get Prime Catcher, but there's no counter catcher. And there are just some cards that we're losing that it's not able to get, obviously. So Cyphermax code breaking feels fine. But I don't know. I don't feel like it's like absurd main Kangaskhan decks. Like if you're not set up, which when you're playing your setup supporters, you're not set up a lot of the time, then it's not going to get you there immediately, right? It's not getting you there this turn. Then we have the next deck, which is Mega Absol box, and this is the deck that won. There's not too much stock to put into just a deck that won. Off of one dull, but definitely something, right? It's definitely something there. But anyways, you have Mega Absol EX, of course, disrupting your opponent. You can also one-shot them with Mega Absol EX's first attack if you use multiple Monkey Doors. I actually played against this deck. It's the one that I played against. Obviously not running two Meowth EX, but I'm pretty sure it was like this list, except they swapped out Meowth EX for like um something. I don't know. And yeah, they were playing Cyrano here, obviously able to grab a lot of Pokemon. And it also runs the Fighting Ogerpon, which is interesting here. The other Ogerpon decks ran the Water Ogerpon. They're not really that similar, but just saw that and like mentioned it. That's like interesting, I guess. This is playing kind of like the previous Mega Absol box, but it's playing Grass Energy, and that is pretty different, right? With the Grass Ogerpon here, and it's running 3 Air Underdepths as well. That seems interesting. I don't know that seems a little mediocre to be honest. Like, what exactly are you looking to fill your bench with? Like, sure, having more bench space is fine. Maybe it's more here as a counter stadium. I'm not sure. Tell me in the comments section. I mean, it's like not running Terrapagos. Oh, it runs Lotus Clefairy EX. I guess that's a good use for it as well. Um, a good card against Dragapult EX, but good in other situations as well. Potentially, especially with Air Zero Under Depths. And then we also see, obviously, Kangaskhan EX being like a big attacker there, which I've like talked about some. But yeah, I mean, you can, use Terminal Period, which can be good in specifically like a meta where you're not being one-shot too much or that much at all. Oh, Mega Absol, I don't say this is weak to Grass. I mentioned Grass earlier. So that's nice there for something like TMS Ogerpon EX, not so good for Mega Absol EX necessarily. And then, yeah, we got, the Meowth EX, I guess Air Zero Underdepth is quite nice for that as well. And if it gets bumped, you can recover it. So that's kind of cool. With Night Stretcher and then replay it, which is fun. Um, definitely, I don't know, like definitely not my kind of deck in terms of, especially supporter package. Running one regular draw supporter, and then running, two Brax, two Cypher Maniacs, three Cyrano, three Crispin. Crispin's obviously very important for the deck. It also, in terms of energy acceleration, it's just Crispin. It's just the three, or it's not just Crispin. It's Crispin is also energy switch, but like you need Darkness energies on your board. Like that's really important for Maya Absol EX as well as Monkey Dory, which are both quite important for the deck. Monkey Dory is good. I mean, it's really important for terminal period. So you're relying on your energy switches there. Um, and okay, I will say, like the person I played against with this deck, like had no idea what they were doing. I don't remember if I won. I think I did, but I don't think I should have. I wasn't playing a particularly good deck. Or I was playing like an okay deck as well. But ultimately, energy switches are something you need to use to act as extra energies, which is really interesting here. We've seen that, like, we see energy switch in different decks, see in like Mega Absol, but definitely a really important card here with the Ogerpons. It definitely seems like you could run into energy issues. Um, if you like don't have, I mean, you can only accelerate so much with Ogerpon. I guess you can accelerate enough. A few energies is still going to be enough, but it's not like this prominent draw engine. Crispin isn't going to be this prominent card either. Definitely seems a little interesting. I don't know exactly how good this deck is. I'm a bit of a hater of it, to be honest. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's okay, but I'm definitely a little skeptical. I've always been skeptical of Absol box, but it is interesting as well. Kind of cool. With some pretty decent big basic stuff like the Ogerpon box decks, which I think are like fine as well. But not exactly sure how good these decks are if they're more like low to the ground, kind of techie decks there. Then we have Raging Bolt as well. Raging Bolt is really interesting, not what I was expected to see. That's not Raging Bolt. Here is the one list, and here is the other list. This one's a bit more normal. Obviously, it doesn't run Professor Size Vitality. That rotated, if you didn't know. But Crispin is here to save the day, I guess. Crispin is definitely a lot worse than Size Vitality and Raging Bolt, in my opinion. Um, and you have like Noctowl here, and you got Ogerpon and Raging Bolt, so you can like do stuff there to get energy on your board. But it's definitely a lot sketchier. Sada's is it is recovery, which is like kind of better than Crispin. They're kind of worse. But on top of that, it's also draw, and it accelerates more. It accelerates an extra energy, right? So that's better. You also have lilies as well. Yeah, actually two lilies, which is really interesting. I guess you're like really scared of Dragapult, which is interesting. I guess you're just gonna probably kind of struggle there to get enough damage. There's Mega Lucario as well. I haven't like talked about Mega Lucario. We'll obviously talk about that later. Probably the last deck or one of the last decks we'll talk about. But yeah, the lilies is useful there as well. You have like single prize Raging Bullet. You got Iron Leaves and some different Pokemon around. Trap Ghost EX as well. But this is one of the less crazy decks. There was like Energy Switch. There's also Glass Trumpet, which is interesting. Oh, we have Terra Orb as well. It actually runs 4 Pokepad, despite running relatively small single prize counts. I mean, yes, getting your Hoot knockdown and Fan Roach, I mean, it is still good. So I mean, yeah, I guess it's quite good. But then you have Terra Orb as well to search out. Honestly, not that many Pokemon, but without Nest Ball, you need what you can get, and Terra Orb is like fine, allowing you to search your Ogerpons, which is nice. They don't need like that many, but it is a cool card there. Then we have this other deck. This one's interesting. Has has Water Ogerpon, has some like I guess Terraboxy aspects. I guess this is probably less Terrabox than the deck playing actual Noctowl. We see three Team Marcus Petrol searching for any trainer. Interesting here. With Precious Trolley, if you know me, you and I also don't like Precious Trolley. I think it's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I don't like it. Actually, no, I do know I don't like it. I don't know if I have a legit reason, but I like it never works when I play it. It's like I always prize or I like miss it or something. But anyways, so or sometimes I get it and I've got like all the Pokemon I need in my hand anyways. But anyways, Precious Trolley with Marcus Petrol imitating that that game plan of what is it? Just going second, like setting up a big board or something like that, which you would like do normally with Arven. Obviously, you don't have Arven, but hopefully it's fine. And then, obviously, with turn one going second, Precious Charlie plays are often accompanied by TM Turbo Energize. Obviously, that definitely isn't happening because that is rotated or slash rotating. And yeah, we got Joltik here, showing lightning and fighting energy, or sorry, lightning and grass energies. So lightning energies onto that raging bolt or whatever, and then obviously the grass. So just a bunch of energy acceleration there. Not really a liability being the only. So those Briar and Dragapult decks, or not Dragapult decks as well. It's just scenes of play. But not the biggest liability. Getting knocked down, not really being too much of a downside. There's not too much upside for being like down on for giving you prizes outside of Fez. And there's also Unfair Stamp, which isn't in this deck, but that's like something like Fez. Potentially more detrimental. Like if you go, I will say, tip, if you're going like turn one, going second or something, and you like take a knockout, you might get Unfair Stamp. So be prepared for that. With just like a with like a Lunatone or something, or not a Lunatone, a Solrock or like a Fan Rotom or something. You could lose. Like you could just attack, take a knockout, and just lose. Because you can then dead draw because you're not going to have like any cards in your hand. You're not really set up. You don't have any evolution to play, so do be aware of that. But definitely like interesting with a Joltik there. Then we have this deck, which is also interesting. Teal Ogerpon with Meganium, which doubles the energy, so you can do pretty big damage there. And then that runs our Believe It EX. This does some like snipe damage or like spread, I guess. It's like a combination, like sex attack. It's attack. I don't know. This card seems so not very good. Fun, but like I don't know, kind of all in with like a Dustor game plan is what I've seen, and that's like fun, and it can win games if you like kind of pop off. This seems like our Believe It EX, if you pop off or if you don't pop off, is doing the same thing no matter what. Which is okay. It does something. It does some spread. Also, it does damage. It does actual damage, so it doesn't go through Shaman or what's the other card, or the Terrace, or any of the Terrace, like Ogerpon. So that is kind of scary, but definitely interesting. I think Meganium with TMS Ogerpon EX is good, and yeah, I mean it doesn't run Mega Meganium EX, which I'm like really happy about. Not because I don't like the card, I think it's kind of fun, but I don't think it's super good, right? So I feel kind of justified on that. I've heard a lot of people hyping that card up, and I've been kind of skeptical. But yeah, definitely interesting to see this deck here. Definitely the one I was not expecting. But then looking at the other decks, we have Rockets Big Lucario and Crustle and Honchkrow. Honchkrow, I don't think there's really anything to see here. It's Team Rockets Honchkrow. If you're familiar with the deck, you do you do damage based on Team Rockets supporters. You want a bunch of Team Rockets supporters, whatever. It's cool. It's whatever. If you played it, it's fun. If you potentially it may or may not be your kind of deck. If you haven't tried it out, it's all right. It's kind of like Alakazam. I think it's pretty comparable to Alakazam. They're not the same, but there's some similarities. Speaking of, I do want to mention Team Rock's Articuno, which is interesting here. It protects your basic Pokemon, Team Rock's Pokemon from effects of attacks, which are going to be like damage cards mostly, I think. And then there's the Crustle deck, and the Crustle deck also runs two Team Rocket's Articuno, which is really interesting. I'm not actually sure why. I'm wondering, like, okay, theoretically, at first I was like, oh yeah, auto wins Alakazam. It like doesn't even auto win it, but it puts you in a very good position. You do need to attack some, and you have like one Prism Energy, and that's your only way to attack with it. So it seems a little scary, especially against the deck that runs potentially Enhanced Hammer. Not necessarily, but it could. It's trying to stop like Mist Energy, which the deck also runs Mist Energy. Like you could just Mist Energy. So I don't know if that's what the deck's doing. Maybe I'm just being silly there. But then maybe like I don't know. Team Rockstar Articuno is good against Dragapult, but it doesn't protect anything except for Team Rockstar Articuno. So it's the idea to then like protect your like protect it. I mean, it has to be to protect itself, right? Like Crustle, if you don't know, is immune to damage from EXs, not effective attacks, but damage. And that's good. And then it like does some other stuff. But then you also fighting Ogerpon for Pokemon with abilities like I don't know, like something. Tell me in the comments section what that's good against post rotation. I don't really know, to be honest. I think of the metagame, and I'm like, obviously, I'm not like the most. I mean, I haven't played the metagame because it's not out yet. I don't think it really does much against any of these decks we've seen here today, except for like Grass Ogerpon or something. But you're like stopping that anyway, so it doesn't matter. Obviously, they're Pokemon with abilities that are EXs that are good, but I can't really think of ability Pokemon that aren't EXs that this is good against. But anyways, that is interesting there. Pretty low commitment to play on the deck. And reduces static as well, which is not surprising. Wait a second. We see the single price Pheasantipity. That's also really interesting. Obviously, Monkey Dory is like, you got the three, you got Pheasantipity, Monkey Dory, Okidogi. I recently made a video on the Okidogi, the single prizer. Obviously, Monkey Dory, the single prizer, sees a lot of play and is a good card. The Pheasantipity is like forgotten about. They all do have abilities with Darkest Energy attached, and this one is immune to damage on a coin flip. Kind of annoying and kind of good as well. And then if it has a darkness attached, keep in mind. But then you do 30, and then you just do 30 for each energy attached to this Pokemon. I actually think this Pokemon's a little underrated in Gardevoir, I guess. I mean, not that it's super good, but I feel like it could be used for like something. But then also it allows you to you can do decent damage, and you can get value out of the darkness, even though you're not like you can get value for the attack, even though it doesn't pay the attack cost, which is interesting there as well. But yeah, I mean that's pretty easy to attack with and like get some value out of. Though it seems kind of mediocre as well. Like I guess it's useful for setting up behind, but surely you'd rather just like Ascension, right? I mean, I guess if you're going first, you could leave in the active, but like that doesn't seem that useful. I don't know. This deck definitely seems like kind of weird with the Articuno and the Pheasantipity. But definitely an interesting deck there. We also see Morty's Conviction. I will say Morty's Conviction, as well as cards like that, generally tend to be more popular in Japan. Doesn't mean they're better or worse, but just like something I figured I'd mention. With these like kind of tier draw supporters. I think international people tend to play more search supporters. I don't mind Voice Conviction. Definitely interesting. Discard a card per hand, draw one future points bench Pokemon. But yeah, we see Zoroark Expectations as well, more of a tournament card. We've talked about that in the past, but yeah. And then we have Mega Lucario. People played this deck here, Mega Lucario with we see two Monkey Dories. I guess it's useful against Dragapult. It seems kind of meh. A little awkward to slot in, specifically when you really need fighting energies, like for everything. It's part of your obviously how you attack. It's also part of your draw engine. Like it seems like the dark energies seem kind of bad here. Not gonna lie. And then this other list here is running rock fighting energy. Stop the effects of attacks here. Interesting there. For some different situations we've been talking about like Mist and Articuno and stuff. And then we also see Lunatone, so like obviously, and then we see Makihita as well, and we see a one Meowth. Obviously, Meowth is a liability. It also is a liability against Mega Lucario as well. I didn't say that, but that is nice there. Weakness matters some. Not that you couldn't knock it out without weakness, but you can knock it out easier with the weakness there. And we see 4 Premium Power Pro, which is cool to see. Just a very, very powerful card, and 4 Fighting Young. So we'll see Max Belt here for hitting some numbers. You don't need to use Premium Power Pro as much. But we see Scoop Up Cyclone really interesting here. Really interesting that the deck playing Monkey Dory is also playing Scoop Up Cyclone, going more into healing. I can get back up Meowth and reuse that ability, which is interesting. And we see Wally's Compassion as well. Not that that seems bad. This one plays 2, but there's like a lot of healing here. I guess Monkey Dory does add damage as well, which kind of makes up for not playing Max Belt, but definitely interesting to see there. And I do like Super Cyclone as well, a really cool card. And yeah, we see like nothing crazy in terms of supporters. I guess you can run Crispin with Darkness. Maybe that's the main reason why, but it is just one Crispin. So that doesn't seem quite the reason. And we see Carmen as well. We do see the one Carmen. I talked about this a lot with Meowth EX, Charmin going first. You can Carmen, which is useful for getting out of bad hand, like Squawkbilly EX. Then the last deck we got here is the Team Rocket stack. I actually haven't really looked at this deck like at all. or I haven't looked at these specific lists yet. I assume they weren't anything crazy. Yeah, it looks pretty simple, straightforward. You have Team Rocket Spite Ops, useful for hitting some stuff for weakness and knocking stuff out as a general Pokemon. Same thing with Team Rocket Spin MQ, obviously good against Dragapult EX there with Liz Clefairy EX, and then you have Team Rocket Speed EX, which can do big damage, has the most HP for a basic two-prizer in game ever, I'm pretty sure, which is good. Its attack is okay. Got the Team Rockets package, and you also have the Articuno. Yeah, that's the card. That card is really nice for countering Dragapult and some other stuff. Team Rockets Articuno is a really nice card. The other deck is oh, they are actually the same. Okay. Yeah. So they are the same there. And yeah, that's what the menu is looking like. Really interesting. Tell me in the comment section what your thoughts are on this. Obviously, I went a little long here because we are really exploring this new format, and this is me like. I don't know. I've looked into it like obviously a bunch of the post station medium. This is like a really nice look at it. Probably maybe the best look we'll see of it. I imagine this tournament will like shape the format. Tournaments, as I said, don't necessarily represent the format perfectly, but what they do is they tend to be something people look at, and then in that sense, they shape the format, which is interesting. So definitely going to be a really big thing to keep an eye on here. And we'll see how this plays out. But I hope you enjoyed. I said make sure you like and subscribe. That really helps support me and the channel. But I hope you enjoyed. Tell me in the comment section any thoughts you have on this. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.